Welcome, friends. This is Under the Arc Sports. I'm Eric.
And I'm David.
And today we're going to preview Mizzou's matchup against the Tennessee Volunteers. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and Instagram. So, Mizzou returns home after a tough loss against Boston College, playing Tennessee. And David, you and I had the same reaction. Mizzou opened up as a 3-point favorite against Tennessee. What do you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, it made me want to bet against Mizzou. I mean, I'm not for betting on Mizzou, period, because they always mess me up. But the way they played against Boston College and Kentucky, until they can show they can stop the run at all, I don't see it. I don't see how they can be a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that either. And, you know, we're coming back and looking at this game. Let's start with the Mizzou offense. All right. So, David, go ahead. And what do you notice about the Mizzou offense?
Well, for one thing, Basilak, again, had another game of just calm, collect, cool in the pocket, throwing those short passes. One thing I noticed Boston College did is they played back and played everything in front of them, which kind of stopped up the offense, if you will. They had a little bit of a difficult time running the football against Boston College. So I don't know if that was because of Boston College's scheme or just the type of plays Mizzou was running that game. But I do know that once again, Basilak only had 1 or 2 deep pass balls, and one of them was picked off in the end zone in overtime, which you did a video on. And then the other one was a flea flicker, which he underthrew, and if he threw properly, could have been an easy touchdown instead of a catch on the 5-yard line. So, again, my concern with the offense is Basilak's arm and how he just puts touch on the ball. He doesn't throw a rocket, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, and with Basilak throwing the football, one thing that he shouldn't have to worry about is a Tennessee pass rush. I think Missouri's offensive line, while there's room for improvement in run blocking, I think they're outstanding in pass protection. They've only given up 3 sacks all year, and Tennessee has only gotten 9 sacks in their 4 games. 2 of those games being Tennessee Tech and Bowling Green. So not a ton of pressure generated by their defensive front there. And looking at when he's throwing the football, Kiki Chisholm has really emerged as really the go-to receiver. But at the end of the day, it's all about Tyler Beatty. You know, the first 3 games, he went nuts in all of them. Kind of contained against Boston College. He had 106 yards of total offense and a pair of touchdowns, but it took him more than 20 touches to get that. So he had the one run early that went for like 30 yards or so, but other than that, pretty modest gains on most of his touches. So yeah, you know that the Mizzou offense is good, but they need to get Beatty back going. Especially, you know, against this Tennessee defense.
Talking about the Tennessee defense, some stats on them. They average 213 yards per game passing they allow, in other words. That ranks 61st in the country. So Mizzou should be able to have a decent day passing the ball. Rushing-wise, Tennessee's defense allows 111.5 yards per game. This is 37th in the country. Again, Mizzou should be able to move the ball. They have a top 20 offense if you look at it comparatively. Overall, Tennessee's defense is 325th, or not 325th, has 325 yards per game allowed, and they average overall as a 47th in the country. So again, Mizzou should be able to move the ball on them. It just comes down to the scheme Tennessee runs, and if Mizzou allows Tennessee to stop some of those offensive play calls that Drink has, especially those swing passes, those bubble passes and stuff, because he has a tendency to call those short sideline passes that sometimes work, sometimes don't. A couple other things. Theo Jackson leads the team with 32 tackles and 1.5 sacks. It's worth noting that, what did you say they have for sacks total?
9.
Yeah, it's worth noting they only had 9 total sacks, and he's a defensive back. So what that tells me is they use a lot of possible blitzing or different types of zone type play to allow their backers to fly around the defense. Trevin Flowers is the second leading tackler with 27 total, and then their third is a linebacker, Jeremy Banks. So really what that tells me is the D-line tries to plug up the holes and allows the secondary to come in and fill in the gaps and make the plays that they need to make.
Yeah, one other note with the Missouri offense going against that Tennessee defense, right guard Case Cook has missed the past 2 games. Before the SEMO game, Coach Drink led on that if it were end of the season and if he really needed him, he could have played in the SEMO game, but no reason to. It's SEMO. But he didn't play against Boston College either, and maybe that had an effect on Mizzou's running game. We'll see if it did. If Cook can't go and the offensive line struggles against the run. Alternatively, if he comes back and Tyler Beatty goes nuts again, well, then maybe Case Cook was the difference there. Now, on the other side, this is where this game's going to be won or lost for Missouri, is when Tennessee has the ball and the Missouri defense.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Missouri defense. I can tell you they're 129th in run defense.
Out of 1/3.
Yeah, that's really all you need to know about our defense. I called it Swiss cheese going up against Boston College. There's so many holes, I don't even know where to look. Passing wise, it's not too bad, but the problem is with how bad the run protection has been, it opens up a passing game against us because everybody starts looking to fill in the missing gaps in the run game. And then that just allows any team to go one-on-one with our defensive back. So all in all, until they can find a way to fix that run defense, we're going to be lucky to stop anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting this week. It's the first time this season that Missouri will be going against an offense that has true dual threat quarterbacks. And I say quarterbacks because the Tennessee offense, there's a little bit of mystery going on with who's going to start just because of injuries. Talking about Tennessee offense here, some numbers for you. They're averaging 218 passing yards per game. That's only 81st in the country, but they make up for it by having 201 rushing yards a game, good for 34th in the country. And they get that, as I mentioned, by having dual threat quarterbacks, as well as, the traditional handing off to the running back. Looking at the 2 quarterbacks for Tennessee, Joe Milton III was the opening day starter against Bowling Green. He was then injured, his ankle, he injured against Pittsburgh, and Hendon Hooker took over then against Tennessee Tech. Hooker was actually injured himself against Florida. As of us filming this, we don't know what that injury is. Joe Milton came in the Florida game last week, and he was not so great. And at this point, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. If he's healthy, I would expect Hendon Hooker to be the starter. He's 6'4", he's 218, he's a big guy. Looking at his stats, he's got a 65.7% completion percentage. He's got 613 yards passing, 7 touchdowns versus just 1 interception. And, Joe Milton III, he's even bigger. He's 6'5", 244 is what he's listed as. But he's just not effective throwing the football. His completion percentage is under 50%. He's only got 1 touchdown. So if Hooker is healthy, I would expect him to be the starter. And he's going to be joined in the backfield by Tyon Evans, who has 42 attempts. He's got 42 carries for 211 yards, pair of touchdowns. He did not play in the game against Pittsburgh. He's been effective in the other 3 games. So 211 yards in 3 games. And when they do throw the football, their number 1 target, Tennessee's, will be VELUS Jones Jr. He is the grad transfer, originally out at USC, the Trojans, not Carolina. And he's got 3 catches in every game that he's played. He missed the Bowling Green game. So those are some of the big names for the Tennessee offense. Jones being the receiver that you'll probably see Ennis Rakestraw match up against. Now, Dave, talking about all this, now it's prediction time. As we said at the start of this, we were both surprised to see Mizzou as a 3-point favorite. That's according to, I believe ESPN uses Caesars. I'm not sure. Whatever ESPN uses, they've got Mizzou as a 3-point favorite, at least to open up. I don't see it until Mizzou actually stops a Power 5 team with a pulse, running football. That is, I can't pick them to do it. I'm going to go Tennessee to win 33-30.
Yeah, and I take the Boston College game as an example. If you look at that game, I think they only forced Boston College to punt twice all game, and the only other stops they got were turnovers. So I'm in the same boat with you. Until I see the Mizzou defense actually force some defensive stops besides turnovers, I can't see us winning this game. However, I will say they do have a chance if they can win the turnover battle. They did not win it against Boston College, and in my opinion, that's why we lost the game. The offense is there. We can shoot it out with pretty much anybody in the country except maybe Georgia because their defense is ungodly. But I do think this one is also going to be a shootout. I have Mizzou losing 42-35. However, if they do win the turnover battle, I think they'll win the game. So if they can play a clean game and force a couple of turnovers, I think they have a good shot of winning. If not, it's a toss-up. It's a shootout. Unfortunately, I just don't see us pulling it out until our defense makes some stops. Anyway, that's all we have for Under the Yard Sports today. Thank you for watching.